حي على الفلاح.
The sister, she asks, I have a complicated question that nobody seems to be able to answer directly, so I'm hoping to hear your thoughts. In regards to dua, I understand that you're supposed to have husnul dhanni billah, meaning good hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will answer us in the best of ways or give us what is best in life. And I believe with certainty that Allah Azza wa Jal will respond. Also, I understand that you shouldn't be hasty and be consistent and persistent in your dua. But how do you know the difference between a delayed response from Allah to your dua or if Allah is telling you, no, it's not good for you? How do you know when to stop making dua for a certain thing? Jazakallah khair. Sometimes we are given what we want. Our dua is already given. So I say to the sister, perhaps you've already been answered by Allah, but you're looking for the answer with your eyes and not your heart. Dua isn't really that complicated. There are two types of dua. There's the dua of praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is always answered by Allah. Anytime you say subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah subhanallah la ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Those types of dua of extolling praise and praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are always answerable by Allah and received by Allah directly. Second type of dua is the dua of mas'ala or talab, of asking Allah or requesting from Allah certain things. Now that the Prophet ﷺ informs us in the authentic hadith that there's answered in three ways. And they're answered in three ways if you are ahlan, if you are a person who is fit for you to be heard and answered by Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ tells us in the hadith of Imam Muslim, narrated from Imam Hurairah, that there's a man, a believer in Allah, who was sinful in his life, who had excesses in his life. He was on a journey, he lost all of his belongings, he's in the middle of the desert, his camels run away, he has no food, no water, nothing. And he's about to die in the desert, puts his hands up into the heavens and he says, "Oh Allah, oh my Lord, oh my Lord." And the Prophet ﷺ says, how does he believe that Allah will answer him? His food was earned from haram, his clothing is from haram, his whole life system of nourishment was from haram. So therefore you see that there are times where a person is not fit to be heard by Allah even though they are believers. And that's why we look forward to those advantageous moments of Laylatul Qadr while we're fasting, after Salatul and before Salatul Fajr, in the depth of the night, the last third of the night, while we're in our sujood, in between adhan and iqamah. All of those are advantageous moments to make dua. But generally speaking, the dua you make that is talab, which is that second category of dua of requesting from Allah, it's answerable in one of three ways. First, rarely Allah gives you what you want, how you want it, when you want it, every time you want it. That's rare. The second type of answer is Allah gives you what you want, not when you want it, maybe not how you want it, and maybe not in the means that you want it, but Allah answers your dua. The third is that Allah defers your dua's response until the day of judgment and gives you what you deserve in the best of what you deserve in the next life. Now that second category is really, really important. Sometimes we are given what we want. Our dua is already given. So I say to the sister, perhaps you've already been answered by Allah, but you're looking for the answer with your eyes and not your heart. So let me give you an answer. Just say you really want this job promotion and it's something you're really keen on. You've been making dua, oh Allah, let them choose me. Oh Allah, I'm ready for this. Oh Allah, I want this job. And subhanAllah, instead of being given that role that you wanted, you get offered another role. And you're upset because the role you wanted, you didn't get it, but you were given another role. But if you actually think about it, that second role that you were offered, the one that you were given, what was it that you wanted in the first role in the first place? You wanted to work with a good team. You wanted to have good flexible hours. You wanted a raise in your salary. You wanted to be able to add something to your CV. You wanted a project that was going to be challenging. You wanted all these different things. It didn't come in that role that you thought you should have it in, but it came in that second role. And if you opened your heart to it, you'd see that what it was in the crux of the issue, you're actually getting it, even though it's not with that title or not with that same group of people. You might get it with another group of people. So perhaps if you open your heart, you'll be able to see that your dua has been answered, but just not in the way that you thought it would be answered. The last thing that I want to say is about the last two questions here. And it says, how do I know if Allah is telling you no, it's not good for you? Allah only tells you no if it's not good for you when something is haram or makruh. So if something is haram, don't be requesting for it. Don't be making dua for an illegitimate relationship. Don't make dua and say, oh Allah, I want him to love me, and you're doing, haram. Don't say, oh Allah, I really want this job, and it's a profession that is leading you away from Allah, right? So things like that, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deterring you from it. It's out of love that He doesn't give you what you want because it's haram. And therefore you hear the dua of the Prophet ﷺ, Allahumma ghnina bihalalika an haramik. Oh Allah, suffice us with halal so that we turn away from that which is haram. Allahumma ameen. And the Prophet ﷺ says, perhaps something that is small is better, kathura wa alha, something greater but distracts you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't ever give up making dua to Allah, but make it conditional to you putting your trust in Allah by demonstrating that you seek to earn it. So just say there's that job you wanted, you keep making dua for it, but it's not happening. So keep making dua for it, but also get an update in your qualifications. Do assign duties that you are seeking that will help you and gain more experience for you. Spread the word of mouth that you're really keen on the job. Make sure that you contact people who are important that can mentor you in that position and lead you into a path that you can get there. All of those are things that are a part of the dua. So Al-Imam al-Shafi'i, he says to make dua without action in terms of your worship of Allah, demonstrating your faith in Allah through salah and siyam, or amal in its generality, that you work towards what it is that you seek. How could you be making dua, for example, oh Allah, I want to be a doctor, but you don't study? Oh Allah, I want to be a alim, and you don't attempt to memorize the Quran or put yourself in classes that will get you where you seek you go. And finally, how do you know when to stop making dua? You don't stop making dua, but what you do is you begin to hone your dua. Sometimes you'll make it more general, sometimes you'll make it more specific. The more general dua is the sunnah of the prophets of Allah, and the more specific is where they were targeting something in particular. So Musa alayhi salam, he asked for his brother in particular because it's important. He knows his brother will be important in that duty. Oh Allah, join my brother with me. My brother will be able to strengthen me. He'll be able to temper me when I get angry because he is halim. He's a person of forbearance. In the other hand, you see the Prophet ﷺ, much of his dua was very general, and he would leave his affair to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So never stop making dua about general, specific things. Oh Allah, I ask you for khayra hadhihi dunya. Oh Allah, I ask you for a good life. Oh Allah, I ask you for, an expanse in my wealth. Whether it's that Allah allows you to save more or that you generate more income, it's left up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, I ask you, oh Allah, put barakah in our hearing, in our sight, in our bodies. Making dua in the general gives you increase in the specifics if you use it in the correct capacity. So never stop making dua for something that you're working towards. But if you have stopped working towards something, and you have found that this isn't working, then don't make dua for something that you're not working towards. So Zakaria alayhi salam, he continues making dua for a child, but he doesn't stop being with his wife and habiting with her and enjoying company with her, because that's the means that's going to get there. But he never gives up making that dua. Those are all important things to remember, and I pray that's a sufficient kind of discussion for this question. So Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas relates from the Prophet ﷺ, the dua of the Noon, meaning the nickname of Yunus alayhi salam, the one that he used when he was ingested by the whale. Had he not been one who was regular in his glorifications of God, he would have remained in the whales until the day of resurrection. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the dua of the Noon. And this is one of the dua where Allah immediately says, I immediately answered him. And therefore this dua is a powerful dua. So the Prophet ﷺ teaches it to the Sahaba. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas said that the Prophet said, the one that he made while he was ingested in the stomach of the whale, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Three important sentences. La ilaha illa ant, he acknowledges the supremacy of Allah, the oneness of Allah, that none is worthy of worship but Allah. La ilaha illa ant, there is none that I will ever turn to and ask and seek assistance from except you, Allah. Subhanak, glorified are you, beyond imperfection are you, no limitation is there set upon you, no hindrance is there that is before you, no unawareness is there for you. Subhanak, complete in your glory and unchanging in that majesty, you will remain as you have always been. Inni, I admit, kuntu min al-zalimin, I acknowledge my sinfulness and my transgression. I am one who has wronged himself. Inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Three important sentences that when you put them together
are a blessed dua. The Prophet ﷺ said that this dua, that there is no believer who will invoke God with those same words, seeking for God to fulfill something for them in anything that they request of God, except I promise that your Lord will answer them for what they have requested, will fulfill the need that they seek, will grant them what it is that they have petitioned for, that they will be heard and answered by Allah. So therefore this dua behooves us. It's something that becomes important for you and I to make as a part of our daily rituals and make it as a part of our daily therapy in connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inni, I acknowledge, it is my fault. I don't blame the shaitan. I don't blame the neighbor. I don't blame others. I don't blame society. I acknowledge my mistake. I acknowledge my weakness. Inni kuntu min al-zalimeen. I'm the one who has transgressed against my own self. I'm the one who has wronged myself. I'm the one who has brought myself to disrepute in harming others, taking what doesn't belong, looking at what is not right, saying what is inappropriate, doing and acting in a way that is sinful, having financial transactions that are immoral. Inni kuntu min al-zalimeen. I acknowledge my weakness and my sinfulness before you, O Allah. What you will notice is that you haven't made a request for what you want. But because Allah is the one who knows what's in your heart, Allah is your creator and maintainer, that this is one of the most powerful dua to get your needs fulfilled. So you're looking for marriage, you're looking for freedom, you're looking for liberty, you're looking for ease, you're looking for rizq, you're looking for health, you're looking for your children, you're looking for something to be blessed with, something to be removed from you, you're looking for some assistance, you're looking for some removal of trial and calamity and pestilence that has descended upon you. La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. No need that you have, qat, in its entirety, that you make a dua seeking Allah through this, even without asking with your lips. But what is in your heart and what Allah knows of your future will be granted for you, even without specific request.